probably like we did last time, we should have some sort of update about what's going on right now. I mean, not a lot has transpired since then, but
actually, yeah, but
yeah, and I think it might be appropriate to just announce that like we need a new drummer now. Mm-hmm. We don't have to get into the details of it or anything, but yeah, for anybody listening to this, if you can play drums or if you know somebody that plays drums and wants to join a hard rock / metal band, that's us, and we're looking.
That's right. That's right. We want to work with you. We want to rock with you. So if you got some chops and you want to do music part-time, not, make it your day job, we might be the fit for you. So check out a video that we will be making and posting shortly on social media and check it out. Let us know if interested.
It's funny how, and I think we could talk about that for a little bit. Like now my brain is in the mode of like trying to find a drummer. And so like I sat down and made that video that I sent you guys. And it's just kind of like, how do we tell people what it is we're trying to do in a succinct way that, because I think that people, especially our age, would be really interested in like being in this kind of band, because I think probably if I were 33 like I am right now and I was looking for a band and I saw someone was looking, I don't even know if I would click on it, because I'd be like, oh, they probably want to practice every week and they probably want to play shows every other week or whatever. And so it's like trying to figure out how to get that message across quickly to people like, hey, we're different. It's interesting.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned in the prior podcast, that was the biggest reason why I was interested in joining. So, but it took a conversation with somebody to help me understand that. So yeah, I think our best bet is going to be being very upfront with hard rock metal band. And right after that, the next thing that you advertise or, solicit is we move slow. We all have families and jobs and careers, and this is just a part-time thing that we do for fun. It's our passion, but we still want to keep it alive. But family and career comes first.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know we've talked like it's kind of a look behind the curtain for Monsters in the Mirror, but our approach hopefully is that we're going to start advertising on Facebook, Instagram, wherever we can, but basically do like a little 15-second ad that just kind of grabs their attention. Like, hey, here's who we are. Here's what we sound like. If you want to know more, click here. And then follow it up with a video that's more thorough, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but explains more of like, here's how often we practice. Here's our philosophy on like the pyramid, like we've talked about in previous podcasts. But in case somebody hasn't listened, like our pyramid structure that we talk about is at the bottom is family. So it's kind of like the food pyramid, where they talk about grains being the most important. For us, it's family. And once your family is kind of worked out and you're at peace, you have stability there, then career sits on top of that. And once you have stability in your career, then we feel the band sits on top of that. And there might be room in there for another tier, maybe friendships or social connections. That'd be fun to talk about sometime. But
yeah, for sure. Like faith or spirituality, whatever, something like that.
Yeah,
there's at least that's a pyramid, an item on the pyramid for me. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. And I think, it seems like there could be another one there. And some of it, I think all of us work out together. Like Vince has been working through his faith over time through the band. So that's been kind of cool. But yeah, so that's kind of like our thing. So it's like grabbing people's attention and then explaining, here's what we're about. And I think that'll work. I hope it'll work. Otherwise, it'll just be Aaron going to birthday parties and meeting people.
That's right. Maybe I need to host a few birthday parties for my kids and see what happens. You never know, right?
Right.
Yep.
Oh, man. So, yeah. So that also leads us to another fun thing that we get to do is before we parted ways with our drummer, we had booked and confirmed several shows. So we have one, I don't know when this will go live, but roughly a week away from now. And now we don't have a drummer. So, and we have several, I would say 4 or 5 that are confirmed that we said we'd be at, and they planned the event and everything. And it's really just not in us to drop out. Like if we absolutely don't have to. So it's going to be awkward. We've talked about, it'll be very obvious to see when you come to the show that we won't have a drummer, probably have drums in the track. It'll be hilarious. We're not going to take ourselves too seriously. But we just want to perform and get out there. So
that's right. Is what it is. It's not ideal. I don't love it. I especially don't love it that's going to be my first show is no drums. Hopefully we can all stay with the drums. That's all right.
Right.
I know we will. But yeah, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
But it'll work. It's better than canceling and not doing it at all and ruining it for all the other bands and all the fans. And I want to get out there. So it's just, I'm looking forward to it still.
And maybe that's part of our advertising too, is like, hey, we're playing the tracks. I know it's kind of cringy, but hey, there's a vacant spot back there. And y'all want to sit down.
That's right.
Try to find somebody.
That's right. We need to get like a snare drum with a stool behind it and just pop a mannequin on there.
Yep.
And throw some drumsticks in his hands, and just that's our makeshift drummer for now till we have a real one.
Like Home Alone when he's got the guys that are all kind of
we need to have like the Michael Jordan cutout, on the train tracks.
We have celebrities in our band.
Yep, that's right. That's right,
dude. So tomorrow, this is kind of like a more personal type thing, but I have to take my son to have cataract surgery. So it is crazy because I feel like it's a curse that I've given him, because my mom had cataracts, my grandma had cataracts, my great grandma, I had it. So it's like runs through the family all the time. My oldest son, Odin, had it. So he had to have cataract surgery in both eyes. And that was kind of a horrible experience, just because we didn't know what we were getting into. And Odin was very dramatic. He didn't like eye drops and all that fun stuff. So Finn is he's not so dramatic, so it should be fine, but it's a very heavy thing. It's like I'm taking my 5-year-old in for surgery tomorrow.
Yep. I've luckily we've not had any. Neither of my kids have any like significant health issues or anything like that. Just they seem to just get sick about twice a month all throughout the school year with strep and had pink eye and all the different fun kid sicknesses that you can get. We seem to get them every year. So. And that's no fun. But yeah, cataracts, that's, I can't say that I've ever heard of somebody that young having cataracts, or especially cataract surgery. Yeah. But at least you know where it comes from.
Yep. And medicine is really good these days. Luckily, I had it younger than them. So I had it when I was like 1, maybe even less than that. Like I was basically a baby, and they had to operate on my eye and take the lens out. And so from the age of like 1 or 2, I was wearing contacts. So I've had them my whole life, even, late 90s and everything, before contacts were cool. I was a kid that was like, nobody move. I dropped my contact. Help me find it.
I guess I didn't realize that you wore contacts or that you had any anything at all.
Oh yeah.
I have glasses, but I only wear them. They're only it's a slight prescription, and it's only for like staring at the computer all day or like reading a book all day. Just for like intense work. And I barely wear them just when I game and things like that, where I'm staring at a screen really intently for an extended period of time. Just helps with, fatigue and all that. But,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I've always, I think the students at school think that I'm cracked out or something sometimes, because my eyes get dry really fast, and so sometimes I blink like a maniac, and so I'll be like looking at somebody and then I'll just start blinking and they're like, hey, you okay, Mr. Scott? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, man, just a little dry eyes, no problem.
Yep. At least you're not crying. At least it's not
for real.
The other way around.
Better than the opposite.
Mr. Scott, what's wrong? Yep. Our bodies, it's crazy. This is a interesting topic. It's crazy to think, one, I guess, how nimble and amazing our bodies are and can what they can do, and how much they can like heal and work around and compensate for all kinds of crazy bad things, and your body will still fight it and still win. It's crazy. But it's also how much can go wrong. And one, you can maybe not even know it for an extended period of time, or maybe it shows up right away, but it just shows up out of the blue and it doesn't make any sense. It's crazy to think about. I'm not a worrisome person, but that is definitely something that I think about from time to time, especially with like my kids, being a dad. It's like, man, what if my kid just develops something crazy or gets hurt, gets, hit by a car, or, breaks their leg. And, that's not that big of a deal, especially in this day and age, but it's a lot to think about. And it's a lot of, I guess, just potential responsibility and worry to shoulder, especially as the man and the head of the family. It's a lot. I think, was it you that I was talking to the other day? Being a strong man, especially a strong man these days, is a sort of a thankless job.
Right.
It's becoming more and more unthankworthy. And that is one of the things, especially if you have a family, that you do have to worry about and be responsible for. But is what it is.
Yeah. Were we talking about how it seems like in our culture, like, to be a dad or a husband or wherever is you just give up, and like you go to work, you come home and sit in front of the TV with beer, and that's it. Like,
yeah. That is what many men have become, I guess, or resorted to. And they at some point in their life, they decided to get married or have kids or whatever. And then they realize, oh man, this is a lot of responsibility. So they give into taking care of, I guess, that family, but they don't fully embrace it or try to enjoy it. And I'm definitely not,
right.
Blameless in that category. I've done things like that, especially early on in my marriage and early on when I had kids. It's hard. That's actually one of the things I feel like is constant work for me to be a good family man. It's not something that I feel like I'm naturally great at,
right.
naturally. And I have to be very intentional about it. That's just not one of my natural abilities. But it's obviously one of the most important things in my life and one of the most important things a man can do. But it's not easy, especially not easy to be good at.
I think that brings up something I was talking to my friend Jared about recently. I think being self-aware of something is a really big indicator of like who you are or how you are, something like that. Like, to be aware of, like, sometimes I struggle and I do check out and I'm not focused on being a good family man or whatever. The fact that you're aware of that means, okay, cool, you're on the right path because you're trying, and I'm the same way. It means we're trying to grow. We're trying to get better. I think the scary thing is so many people who just exist in that and they don't see anything wrong with it. It's just normal. This is what it is. It's part of the reason I despise country music. I won't go too hard on this because I don't want to be divisive to anybody listening, but I feel that a lot of country music often does that, where it's kind of like, it glorifies, you just go do your time at your job that you hate and then you just kind of check out. I don't know. It doesn't
working for the weekend.
Yeah.
Can't wait till the weekend gets here. That is one thing that I really sort of, my eyes really opened on that about 5 years ago. And I was, at the time I was in a job that I was actually kind of miserable in. And few key events happened and I found another job and I realized, nope, that's no way. The way I was living was no way to live.
Yeah.
Sure. Of course, there are problems, there are issues with every single job you'll ever have. It's work. At the end of the day, it's work. It's not fun. It's work. You have to be disciplined and intentional about it. And you're going to have to do things that you don't like doing necessarily, but you still can find joy and satisfaction and fulfillment and purpose in that. And it's really important to have that. Or else, like, what are you doing? I'm sorry. I refuse to live my life in a job, even if it's not that most ideal job, and just hating my life all week and then just can't wait for the weekend. And then I only live, in those 2 days. That's no way for anybody to live. And I know there are some such situations and, periods of time you may go through in your life where maybe that is necessary for a while. But it definitely doesn't have to be that way. I don't believe. Yeah,
I agree. That sounds, 40 hours a week. You spend a lot of your life at work. And if you're spending that whole time hating it, and I think that we might have a little bit of privilege in that. I think about that sometimes because I'm like, sure. I was lucky enough that I had parents that told me, like, hey, remember, this is why you're working at Taco Bell, because I worked there when I was 16. Remember how much you hate this right now. So, and use that to fuel you that you don't ever want to work here for the rest of your life, because you don't want. And, I would come home and talk about how, like, the factory workers down the road could make so much money. And my parents would often remind me, like, yeah, that's true. But ask them how happy they are with their job. And so my parents really instilled in me kind of like, there's a trade-off. Sometimes you can make a lot of money and hate your job, or you can make not as much money, but like what you do. And then your life doesn't suck so bad. So I'm like,
that's right.
Yeah.
Which leads to pretty much benefits in every other area of your life. You have more energy and time to devote to other things in your life. Yeah, I'm the same way. And my employer is actually really great. So I have a corporate job. I'm in corporate finance in case anybody is interested. So yeah, metalhead, plays guitar, does all that stuff, but is also, part of corporate America, corporate finance.
You're Ron Swanson.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, my employer has been very good to me. I have a very good work-life balance and a great boss that's very understanding and patient. So it's great. Those jobs, those companies do absolutely exist. I know not all of them are like that. I've worked for a couple.
Yeah.
But your job is a lot. There's a lot of your job that it is what you make of it. And especially so, I believe, as a Christian, it's my duty, it's my calling. I'm commanded to strive to be the best that I can be at work. I'm supposed to serve my boss like I'm serving Christ. Mm-hmm. And that I've sort of applied that and thought about that more. My career's gotten a lot better. My performance has increased. Just everyday relationships and how everything functions. Yeah, it definitely doesn't have to be that way. And your job is what you make of it. I feel like a lot more than people realize. Mm-hmm. I know that's not the rule. I'm sorry. There's exceptions to that, and it can't be that way all of the time. But I believe, a lot of what you do in life is it is what you make of it and what you put into it.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow. It's you get as much as you put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. This is gonna sound like I don't even know what it's like a kid who doesn't want responsibility, but a big part of me becoming a teacher was summers off. Because I was thinking about okay, I'm not going to make very much money. Sorry, my eye's freaking out. But I get to work with kids, which I was interested in because I kind of wanted to be a youth pastor for a while. So I thought, this would be cool. I'll stay young and I'll be a dweeb like I am or whatever. I won't make very much money, but I'll have summers off and I can pursue the band with that. So that was kind of my plan, was I want to do music full time. So I was I'll tour during the summer, and then during the school year, I'll be working, doing what I got to do, but really just kind of hanging out with kids. And yeah. And mm-hmm. Again, we talked in previous podcasts, I think that thank goodness my dream kind of shifted for that, but it's funny to think about that. A kid asked me yesterday, "Hey, Mr. Scott, what do you think? Do you think it'd be better if we went to school all year round or keep summers off?" And I was like, oh crap. It made me think about I don't think it's still true that I'm in this for summers off, but it's funny how much of a factor. It's
definitely
that is.
A perk. It's a good perk. Yeah. That's for sure. I wish if I had summers off, man, that'd be awesome. It's I'm sure, but I'm sure my job has perks that being a teacher, doesn't. Yeah. So it's just give and take. Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. That is something that I feel like I need as well. So not extended periods of time off, but I work best and function best and am happiest and perform the best when I have breaks. So one of the best things that I found throughout the work week that I can do is I guess about 60% of the time now I work from home. So 3 out of 5 days through the week I work from home. So I have a home office right here that we're in, mm-hmm. And that I'm in. And so I've got a nice little office set up here that I can work from comfortably and efficiently. But a big thing that I can do in the middle of the day that absolutely enhances my performance is I stand up, and sometimes I just go outside and go for a walk for a little while, or go downstairs and lift weights, or just do something else just to get my mind and eyes off of what I was doing, so that I come back refreshed, even if I didn't really do much while I was gone. The breaks definitely boost productivity. And then I believe there's many studies done that show what is that method where it's you do something intensely for 25 minutes, and then you take 5 minutes off and you repeat, and you do that all day.
I know this
one.
Yeah. It's called the Pomodoro technique.
Pomodoro. That's what it is. Yes, you're right. You're right.
I've been writing that into IEPs for students lately, where we'll work on using that technique in class, because I work with kids primarily that have ADHD. So like staying focused for a long period of time is very difficult. So we try to use that technique.
Right. Yeah. And
That's really cool though.
Especially, yeah. And with my job, I can't really do that.
It froze again.
I still hear you just fine. All right. What is going on here? Oh,
here we go. That's right. Those are easy edits. I'll just look for the spot where there's just complete silence or whatever, and then chop it, and it'll smooth out.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Back at it. Well, I guess where were we? Yeah. So my job, I can't really just, work in 25-minute increments all day. I can't really do that. But I can definitely, my best brain time, I don't know about you, but my best brain time is from like 8 a.m. until like noon.
Oh yeah.
That's my, like, if I need to get something done or if I need to really do some deep work, that's my best time.
Yeah.
And after that, especially if I work hard through that time, I need like an hour off.
Oh yeah.
And then the afternoon is kind of a lull for me in brain power, actually, at least the first part of the afternoon. But the second part of the afternoon, I get like a second wind around like 2-3 o'clock, and my brain picks right back up again. Yeah. And I'm good to go until like 8 o'clock. And then after that, I'm done.
Yep. I'm the same way. It's the morning time is like the best time. It's even, I've been thinking about that for the band. I might have to start setting aside, like Vince talked about, he does Tuesdays and Thursdays for a certain time in the evenings to work on recording stuff. I may need to start doing that too, because I'm finding that my role in the band is shifting a little bit to more of like managerial type stuff, but also like this advertising thing and videos and photos and all the kind of stuff that I can do. So I'm like, dang it, I'm going to have to like start waking up on maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll just wake up early.
It's almost like another job now, right?
Yeah.
At least just a couple hours a week. But
yeah, just make it a priority.
When I first joined or was in the process of joining, I didn't have specific, I didn't throw it on the calendar or anything like that, but getting up to speed on all the songs, learning all the songs, I would sit down, I would do at least an hour a night all week long, every weekday. I would sit down and just play, listen through the songs and just play, and one song at a time. And then once I got the tracks from Vince, which were really helpful, that helped me learn it a lot quicker. But yes, I have to have like dedicated time, and I'm definitely, if I don't think about it or like write it down or at least tell myself I need to do this week, I tend to not do a whole lot in the evening after like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But there's totally, I try to go to bed around 10, but a lot people don't realize how much time and how many things you can get done in the evening, even if it's fun stuff that you want to get done, that you're doing for you. There's a lot more time that you've got there if you don't just sit on the couch and watch TV.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. If you cut out the TV time, there's a lot there.
That's right. That's what I credit, my guitar skills, at least my maintained and growth in my guitar and music skills over the last, 10, 15 years has been in the evenings, because I work most of the day. And I typically, Saturdays, I sit down with the guitar and for a little bit typically. And then Sundays, obviously at church, I get to play. So I at least do that, but I'm not really necessarily growing technically as a musician doing that. But no, the weeknights are when how I've maintained and grown all these years. There's more there, along with, family time and projects around the house and anything else that I need to get done. It's weeknight evenings are a time to be productive. There's totally more there than most people think. Hey,
that's a question that made me think of. So how much, when you have projects around the house, how much do you do yourself versus how much do you like hire somebody else to come do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as of now, and looking back into the past, there's only a few things that I just absolutely will not do myself. Roofing, hardcore plumbing, like intense stuff, and tile work, and anything to do with I guess like large scale outdoor, like landscaping, move a lot of dirt, move a lot of rocks, things like that.
Gotcha.
Large scale stuff that takes a crew with the right equipment a few hours that would take me literally like a month to do myself in the evenings and weekend. I've done stuff like that before. In my old house, I put in a patio myself, a individual paver patio. It was not worth the time and effort I put into it. It was absolutely not. I should have not done it, or like paid somebody, or figured out a better plan before I did it.
Yeah.
So I'm typically this runs in my family. My grandpa on both sides, but especially on my dad's side, they're very big. They pride themselves on, being DIY, do it yourself, figure it out, learn how to do it, figure it out and do it. And my grandpa passed that down to my dad, and my dad passed that down to me. So my dad is, the reason why I can do a lot of the things I can do now.
Yeah.
And I'm not great or an expert by any means. He's helped me on, so this is, I guess, my third house that I've lived in, and significant projects with all three houses. So renovating bathrooms, putting in new flooring, trims, anything like that, painting, caulk, any type of basic construction work, putting up an interior wall and finishing it. Learned all that from him. So thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
I've since we've been at this house, which has been about coming up on 3 years now, actually. That's crazy. First of all, it needed a lot of small cosmetic work, like cleaning and painting and fixing small electrical things here and there. My dad's an electrical engineer, so he's very good with electrical things as well. So I've learned quite a bit from him. So this house didn't need a ton of like big scale projects where you have to like rip out drywall and put up walls or do anything like that. It didn't need anything like that. It just needed some small things here and there, and like new fixtures and cosmetic work. So I definitely do all that myself. My wife does too. So I've taught her a few things along the way, and she's claiming now that she wants to get a little more DIY with projects and stuff. She's like refinished some furniture and things like that, stained, painted, finished. She likes that type of stuff. That's not my thing at all. I don't really enjoy much of that at all. Nor do I drywall, man. Yeah, it sucks. Hate it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Plumbing or basic electrical, that's pretty interesting to me.
Do you how much do you do on like your cars?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I've talked to this about this with Aaron already.
I
do nothing on cars. I don't touch them. I hate them. It just stresses me out and freaks me out, and I don't want to screw anything up. And I can do basic stuff like an oil change, or I can change a tire. Yeah. I could probably do brakes. I've helped my dad and my father-in-law do brakes before. So again, I'm familiar with the basics, but nope. I don't, especially with cars are now. My truck, I just bought it last year. The first thing I did, I just popped the hood and I crawled under it when I first bought it. And all I saw, well, of course it's not all I saw, but there are so many like wires and electrical components. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to figure this out. If anything's wrong or by myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And that's just how it is now. It's
the funny debate. That's the reason I ask, is AC and I go back and forth about this sometimes. So I'm a lot like you. My dad learned how to do everything himself because he couldn't afford to do it any other way. So it's like, if you want to do it, you got to do it yourself. And so he just learned the hard way. And then he just taught us, my brothers and I, as we were growing up. Anytime he was changing the oil or changing rotors or any house project or whatever, he was doing it and we were there. And so I'm very grateful that I learned all that now, because I'm in a similar predicament, like I'm a teacher and I have a family, so we don't have a lot of money. But what I run into often with AC is like, I'm speaking for him here, but he generally thinks that everyone should be able to, especially when it comes to cars, like fix most of it or all, like you should know how to do all that stuff yourself, especially if you're a man. And I always tell him, like, I think I disagree. Like, maybe, you need to be pretty handy, like if you don't make a lot of money, but like, if you can afford to pay somebody to fix it and they can do it in 2 hours, whereas you fixing it yourself, it's going to take you 15 hours and you might screw it up. it seems
and you
like
might
it's
screw it up
better.
and you don't have a car to
Yeah.
use while you've got it. It torn apart. Yeah. So that's kind of how I think now too, so it's not all about the money. It's not all about the cost. Yes, of course I consider that still. And definitely, you know, earlier in my life when I had, you know, less money and I would do it myself because I don't have any other option. But now it's what's worth my time and how much risk and liability is there. So like on my car, nope, I'm not messing with it. I'm going to pay somebody, even if it's just for an oil change. I'm going to put that time, especially now, you know, you are too, you know, you're busy. I've got time. I've got a job. I've got a family. I've got the band. I've got all these things that I, you know, need and want to spend my time on. And it's just, now it's like a trade-off. Is it worth it for me to do it myself? And, you know, or is it worth it me to just pay somebody to do it? If it's simple and easy and it's a hassle to get somebody to do it, yeah, I'm just going to do it myself. Of course, that's still my tendency, is to jump in and probably just do it myself. But on bigger stuff like cars, stuff with a lot of liability or risk, nope. Like roofing. Sorry, my house has a pretty peaked roof. There's no way I'm getting up there to do anything on the roof. There's no way. Yep. If I die, because I fall off the roof of my house, my second story house, it's just, I'm sorry, that's not worth it.
Yeah. Or the heat stroke from being up there in July or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not being tall and thin like I am. My back will not, there's no way I was not built to be a roofer. That's for sure. There's a reason that I'm a desk jockey. Yeah. Although sitting isn't good for you either. So I have a standing desk.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, luckily you can take breaks and go literally work out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. At least a few days a week.
Yeah. So. Yeah. AC, one of the points he made that I do think is a good call is like because I'm always like, why don't you just pay somebody to fix your car? Like, I mean, you could afford it and you could spend time with your family then or whatever, but he is learning these skills because he wants to teach them to his kids. So he wants to be like his dad and our dads were, where they knew how to do stuff and they passed that knowledge on. So I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good point. Like learning things and passing on that intellectual property is a pretty big legacy.
Yep. No, I'm definitely going to, it won't be for everything that like my dad taught me or passed down to me. I'm not going to necessarily keep doing everything that I have done before. But there's a lot that I definitely will always do myself and definitely, you know, show my kids as well. I have 2 girls, so it's a little different. I'm not, you know, passing down the manliness like, like my dad did for me. But my girls are definitely going to know how to, like, you know, if there's a problem with your car, like at least know how the basics work so you can diagnose a problem. Yeah. Same thing with home stuff. I'm sorry. Like there's no reason you should, if you want to paint your bedroom or change out like a ceiling fan or a light fixture, there's no reason that you should be calling anybody or paying anybody to do that. There's no reason. It is easy. Trust me. If I can do it, you can do it too. It's you just got to look it up. And especially in these days, back when my dad was growing up, there wasn't YouTube. There wasn't the internet. Now you have all these resources that at your disposal that you can learn basically any skill. So it's way more accessible now than it used to be. So yeah, I've learned a few small weird things that have happened with my car, like just weird, not necessarily weird noises, but just I'm having a problem with this specific thing. I YouTube it. Somebody goes, oh yeah, I had this problem and here's how I fixed it. And it's so super simple. I've done stuff like that all for, you know, random things that I can't even remember right now, but the internet, YouTube is such a good resource that didn't really exist before, you know, 15, 20 years ago.
I totally agree. I was, as I've been trying to build this homestead or whatever, I was talking to somebody at school who is a farmer and who raises cows and all that stuff. And I was trying to get advice about building like a pasture and putting up fencing and all that kind of stuff. Because I know you should ask people who've been there because they've learned things the hard way. They can give you wisdom. So I was trying to get that. But basically the advice that I got was, you can do it yourself and save money now, but you're going to be fixing it in 5 years, or you can spend a lot more money and pay somebody to do it right. And so that really made me stop and think, because for me, if I was going to spend a lot of money and pay somebody to do it, yes, I agree that sounds right and that is true, but I just wouldn't do it. Like I wouldn't be able to do it. to be able to afford that much money. So it's kind of just like with my dad, if I want to have a homestead, if I want to have a barn, if I want to have fencing and get all that stuff, I got to do it myself. So then I just use, like you said, I just researched the crap out of it. I mean, I watched so many YouTube videos and read so much stuff to learn about how to put a fence in correctly and all that, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's kind of cool. Like you can just manifest it. You can just make it happen because of knowledge.
Yep.
What you learn.
Yep. That's right. That's right. And another thing that you have to consider too is, so because my dad is who he is, and because I am who I am, I like to have the right tools for the job. So I have a decent tool collection. Aaron's got a way more impressive tool collection than I do. And he's got all the automotive stuff, which I don't have. So, but it's an investment. You're going to spend plenty of money, doing it yourself as well, especially if it requires specialty tools, like especially with farming. I'm sure you have a tractor, right?
Yeah.
So you've got, yep. So you're going to have all this other equipment that very few other people are going to have or spend money on. That's another expense that you can't get around. You're not going to be able to do the job without it. So that's another thing that it's not necessarily all that it seems, or that you're not going to, you're going to save all this money by doing it yourself. Yeah, sure. But not if you don't have, if you have to buy all the tools to do it, you're going to cut way into your margins, or your savings by doing it yourself.
Yeah, I think there's
always that to consider.
Yeah, I think that for me, it was like, I have noticed my classmates in high school that ended up being farmers, they did it because their parents are farmers. So they inherited things. And I'm finding that I don't want to grow crops per se. Like I want to have a big garden and everything, but I don't want to do row cropping. But I'm finding it's very steep to get into.
Yes.
Isn't
like you said, like 800K or something like that. Like it's insane. You're buying like commercial equipment. It's almost like buying like an apartment building to become like a landlord.
And then land itself is like, that's your first hurdle. And then after that, then you got to acquire all the stuff where these farmers that come from families already have it in there. So I've been looking at it like, I really want to do this. I feel pretty passionate about it. More about like regenerative agriculture, like raising animals and that sort of thing. But that steep buy-in, I just couldn't afford it. So I found that's kind of why I've went towards raising animals instead of row cropping, because, throw some sheep out there. You just rotate them around the grass. You don't need to buy any you don't need a combine for that. You don't need like a hay maker or whatever. Like, so.
Yeah. Being a farmer, the farming life isn't this cheap, easy thing. No, there's, especially in modern day farming. No, you got plenty of money to spend to make it work. It's not free. It's not cheap. I guess the only free, industry or thing you can get into is something that's like purely a service. That doesn't really require much tools, just manual labor.
Right.
So I guess you can be a roofer. You need a few tools to be a roofer, but you're going to beat up your body over an extended period of time doing that. Again, it's hard work and you'll get paid for it, and you're always going to have a job pretty much. So it's just pick your poison.
Yeah, as long as your body lasts.
and that's right. So, and that's an interesting thought. So, the reason that I guess chose the career path that I did is because there's always room for growth. You never just reach this necessarily a pinnacle or a stopping point, in necessarily position, responsibility, or pay. There's a bunch of different avenues you can go down, and there's no like specific stopping point. So accounting and finance, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be needed and in demand. And it's difficult. So it requires a lot of focus, a lot of learning that builds on each other, just like advanced math. So it isn't really advanced math. It's pretty basic math. The worst I get on math is like algebra, like pretty basic algebra. So that's as far as like intense math that I do. That's not why it's difficult. It's difficult because it's all conceptual, and you're relating and bringing together lots of different pieces of information and making them make sense together and tell a story and get a result. And you have to make sure that you have good logic. That's why it's hard. It's not because the math is hard. So because all of that stuff is conceptual and, it's every business and every job and every industry is different. There's an endless amount of knowledge and experience to be gained there. Mm-hmm. So my career will always build on itself. Like I'll take the experience and the knowledge that I've gained in the past, and I'll use that at the next job or at the next whatever position. It's all relevant. And, it isn't, I'm not going to use 100% of everything that I've learned in every situation, but it builds, and there's really no end. Yeah. Because the space or the everything that there is to do or learn is basically endless, and it all is somewhat relevant to each other. So it's endless. The possibilities are endless. Same thing with music. That's why I think I love music so much and guitars, because I'll never be there. I'll never be exactly where I want to be. I'll never be the best. There's always something else to learn, a new way to approach something. And my only competition is me. Mm-hmm. My only limitation is me. I love that. I actually don't really like competitive, like team sports that much, or especially like judge sports, like the Olympics when the gymnasts flip around the mat and then judges hold up a sign. I'm sorry. I think that's garbage. I hate that so much. No, I either want there to be like a clear winner, like a race, like somebody won because they crossed the finish line first, mm-hmm. or it's not judged. It just is what it is, like an art. Like music, there's no judge, there's no competition for music. Yes, there's clearly music that is more technical or maybe better than others because maybe it's, tighter or something like that. Yeah. But it's all subjective. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is actually really cool about music. And I guess that's not exactly the same thing as my career, because there are very objective right and wrong and true and false things to do in my line of work. But I like that my only limitation is me, and there's always something else to learn or a way to grow, and it doesn't just stop.
And the idea that you said earlier too of like, because that was my mind went right to songwriting when you're talking about you've got all these things that you've got to figure out how they work together, and like the logic that you said, like, I mean, obviously you don't want music to be too tied down by logic, but sometimes starting from a logical framework can be fun. But I think I heard someone say one time, when you're writing a song, you're wrestling with the song. And I feel like that's a good way of doing it. Cause like even our song right now, Obituary or whatever we're going to call it, mm-hmm. there's a lot of good stuff to it, but I still feel vocally like we're wrestling with it. It's still not where we want it to be. And that's, mm-hmm. for me, it's very unpleasant while we're wrestling with it. But then when you find something that works, then it's like, like the skies open up, you see the sun, mm-hmm. and there it is. So,
yep. Just love it when a plan comes together. Yeah, for sure. I'm with you there. I think the music part of it is awesome, and we're pretty much there. But the vocals, Aaron's still playing with a lot, and I have not heard. I don't think I've heard if you have a vocal part in it and what it is. But I don't know if you're just harmonizing what he's doing. But I think there's still a lot of open space or mm-hmm. subject to change things about that song.
Yeah, I definitely intend to do a lot of secondary vocals on that one. But it's one of those things where I've got lots of ideas, but I can't pitch them until I hear his ideas. And so he's done them live a few times, but like we need it on a recording and a finalized so that I can start going, okay, how can I support you here without competing for that space?
Yep, for sure. I'm still playing with a few lead guitar parts in that. I think I sent you guys the demo for the ending, like sort of breakdown. Mm-hmm. It was just a couple power chords before that Vince wrote, which I like it, but it needed something else. It needed some little seasoning. So I'm still playing with that. And I'm also not going to really be able to, I think, finish it until we've got like a demo with drums and maybe some type of rough vocals on there. So I can understand again what I can fit in, and what fits.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're at.
Yep.
Got to get, Vince has already talked about it. So Vince right now is working on getting us ready for these shows because we have to have tracks and drums and all that fun stuff. Yay. But once he's done with that, we can start focusing on recording while we find a drummer.
That's right. We can at least get this first one done, and then maybe we can start on the other ones too, or at least finish writing them. Yeah. We still got a lot of work to do on The Victim. So I think Aaron's actually probably got that song more vocally together than he does Obituary.
Yeah. I think you're right, actually.
So it's up to like, we need drum parts, we need a bass line, we need more guitar parts, because there's really only one guitar part right now.
Yeah.
So, and even that's not even done. So it's gonna be cool though. It's a total Lamb of God song ripoff from Vince, but it's awesome.
You could tell it's the same scale and everything that they use.
Oh, for sure. Harmonic minor. Yeah. Yep. It's got those a couple little, not sour, but little off eyebrow razor notes in there. But it's awesome. And especially I'm excited to throw some harmonies on the riffs there.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I love about stuff that like groove metal bands like Lamb of God do, is when they harmonize like a groovy riff that, again, there's not really like a chord progression underneath it. It's just literally, it's a riff that it's a groove, it's a feel. But you harmonize it with some gnarly riff. So awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I got for tonight. I'm thinking, hopefully the next one that we record, I want to have 1 to 2 more people on, and it depends what we're wanting to talk about, because I've got a couple. My friend Jared would be a good person. He is a car salesman at Honda in Marysville, and he has very interesting thoughts. Like he reads people. That's like what he does for a career. And so talking to him about a lot of the stuff that we've been going through recently, some of his thoughts and ideas, I've been like, oh, that's really interesting. I would love to hear. I even told him I'd love to get you in a room with Joe, or get you in a room with AC and hear you guys go, pitch ideas to each other. So I was thinking about that. Having AC on to talk about something would be good. I also would like to get a hold of Chris Marquette from Before My Eyes, because I think he's done podcasts before, but it'd be fun to catch up with him, because me and him go way back, and we can talk about his band and what they're up to too. So
yeah, I met him at the show back in January at Howard's. Nice guy.
Yeah,
nice guy. Looking forward to playing with them again someday. So I know we don't have anything on the books right now, and their drummer Seth was a cool guy too, and freaking animal on the kit.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so hopefully that's what we'll go with in the future for this podcast.